Hello, friends. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Whitley, and today Christmas is getting a little spooky. We are starting another Christmassy reading vlog today, but instead of reading light, fluffy, romantic stories, we are reading the ooky spooky. We are reading the horror, but we're still keeping it festive. The tentative TBR, we have Krampus by Brom. I absolutely adored Slewfoot, so when I saw that Brom had a Krampus Christmas horror story, I was like, yes, absolutely must read this Christmas season. I've always been like such a huge fan of Krampus. I have always had this like such curiosity about him because he's supposed to be like this counter to Santa Claus, but they are like one and the same. Sure, his punishments are a little bit more brash, a little bit more harsh, but I mean, there is always this push and pull, this be good or this happens. So it's just really interesting. I'm really excited to pick up Krampus from Brom. That is the first book that we are going to be picking up in this video because I'm so excited. Eric LaRocca's new book also takes place during Christmas. It is We Are Always Tender with Our Dead. This takes place on Christmas morning where there is this huge massacre and it follows this small town in the aftermath of this tragedy. Very much looking forward to that one as well. Eric LaRocca has been a little bit of a hit or miss author for me in the past, so very curious to see where this one is going to land. I also have a short story collection out from the library. It is Christmas and Other Horrors. It has authors like Stephen Graham Jones. Granted, the one book that I've read from him, I wasn't a huge fan of, but he's such a beloved author. Interested to see how a short story from him goes. We have Cassandra Call, absolutely love. We have Josh Mallerman. I've read short stories from him in the past and have really enjoyed them. I haven't read any of his full-length novels yet, but interested to read another one of his short stories. There are also quite a few authors here that I've never heard of, and I love reading a short story collection where there are authors that I've never heard from before, because if I do like their writing style and I like their work, then that makes me want to like search out some of their other stuff to see if I'll like it as well. So I would love, maybe not read the entirety of this chunky boy, but maybe read a couple of the short stories in here. I do see a Krampus on the cover as well, so love that. We also have some festive activities planned for the week. So if any of that interests you, be sure to stick around, grab a festive treat, grab a hot chocolate, sit back, relax, and hang out for a little bit. The first thing that we are actually going to do in this vlog is not read. We are actually planning on going to Disney Springs tonight. They have this Christmas tree stroll where you can walk around Disney Springs, and there is like this scavenger hunt where you have to find certain trees, and there's this map with stickers. We did it last year. It was so much fun. So we are going to go to Disney Springs and do their little Christmas tree stroll. So we are just going to continue to get into the festive spirit, the festive mood, even though the reading is going to take a little twist for the spooky and the horrific, which I am very excited about. But enough about that for now. Right now, I'm going to go change. I'm going to go get ready, and we are going to go to Disney Springs. I'm so excited. Hello, friends. Welcome to the vlog. I have started Krampus by Brom, and I am on page 96. I just finished part 1, and it is decent so far. I really like Brom's writing. I'm just not quite as interested and drawn in to this story as I was hoping I would be. It's been mostly from our main character's perspective. He's a human named Jesse. He is a deadbeat guitar player who refuses to do anything, to take any steps to actually making his dream come true. Instead, he makes ends meet by being a little drug mule for the local kingpin. Said head honcho has the sheriff in his back pocket, and said sheriff has Jesse's wife in bed. This sheriff may or may not have killed his ex-wife, and now Jesse's wife, they're separated, but Jesse's wife and daughter are now living with this real piece of work. His wife left him and took the daughter as well, and Jesse, is just in a really dark place right now. I will say, trigger warnings for suicidal ideations. And our guy's luck just seems to be going from bad to worse when he witnesses what appears to be Santa Claus in the midst of a battle with this gang of black-clad monsters. And Santa's sack ends up falling through the roof of Jesse's trailer. And this really just puts him in the realm of something terrible. Having possession of this sack really puts him right in the middle of this centuries-old feud between Krampus and Santa Claus. And now, after a misunderstanding, but a very bad misunderstanding, this incident with the hillbilly mob, he is not only on the run from Santa Claus, but the most corrupt people in his small town thinks that he set them up and is trying to take them down. There is just a lot going on to start this book. I am liking it so far, but one of my main complaints at this point is that it feels like we were just dropped right in the middle of this story. There was no lead up. There was no backstory to really anything. We were just kind of plopped right in the middle. We don't know what happened between Jesse and his wife. We don't know what happened between Krampus and Santa Claus, or how Jesse got mixed up in this small town drug ring. Not that that information necessarily matters, and that's not to say that we're not going to get these answers in the coming chapters, but right now I do find myself wishing that I had a little bit more information. There have also been some notable kind of logical plot holes. Nothing big, just things that make me internally question why? Why are the characters doing what they are doing? Why aren't they doing this, which would seem the obvious way that things would happen in this situation? But those very minor complaints are just that. They are minor. And even though the beginning has been a little bit slow, I am really intrigued to definitely find out more, hopefully to get those answers that I wish we had at the beginning, especially now that Krampus has officially entered the chat. I am very excited to see where the story is going to go. This first part has really just been a lot about the corrupt small town politics, a lot of family drama, and I am ready for these supernatural figures to go at it. It is very interesting to see the small glimpses that we have gotten so far of both Krampus and Santa Claus. This story, the mythology behind it is so steeped in Norse mythology. Krampus is Hel's son and therefore Loki's grandson, and Santa somehow has come into possession of some of Odin's beasts. He has Odin's wolves and Odin's ravens. I looked it up to see if Brom actually pulled the real names from these creatures, because I'm not very familiar with Odin's beasts. I mean, I know Odin and Loki, of course, but Krampus calls them Odin's beasts, so that's what I'm going to call them. His ravens, his wolves, and Brom actually did pull the real names from Norse mythology, which I thought was really cool. It was a nice little touch, in my opinion. So I am really liking it so far. I just hope that the pacing and the action does kind of pick up a little bit in part 2. Oh, and the artwork, phenomenal. I knew it would be, though. His art is so freaking beautiful. And I am loving that this also has those little drawings at the beginning of every single chapter. Again, a minor complaint that I have with this book that I had the same small complaint in Slewfoot is the chapters are just so long. And granted, that's just a preference thing. That's not really a complaint on the book. I'm just a small chapter girly, and these are some long ass chapters. But regardless, I am excited to continue. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but we got our tree up. It is beautiful. I love her. I don't know if you can tell from here, or if you're curious. That's Darth Vader on the top, and we have like a Star Wars theme going on. So I love her. I'm obsessed. It brings me so much joy just to come home and plug in all my lights. I still have to wrap all of my presents. That's why she's empty. So that is also part of the agenda for the week. I need to get the presents wrapped. And after that, I think I am officially ready for Christmas. I think that is the last check that I need to mark. But for now, I'm going to go make dinner and read some more of Krampus. I will check back in when I have an update. Hello, friends. I have had so much chocolate today. I cannot tell you how ashamed I am, but oh my gosh, it was so good. At work, a bunch of our like vendors and clients that we work with will send us like Christmas care packages, and our table at work is just covered in chocolate right now. And it is so hard to resist. So I didn't. I treated myself. I had so much chocolate, but it was so good. I'll go back to being good when the new year comes. I'm giving myself Christmas, okay? I'm giving myself Christmas to eat my chocolate and my sweets. But that's not why I'm here. I am here because I have reached part 2 in Krampus. I am on page 218, I think, 220. And I liked this part so much better than the first. Like, it really ramped up. We're really getting to know all of these characters, and I am just really connecting with them, especially Jesse and Krampus's little minions. He calls them Belsnickles. I don't know what that means, but they used to be human, but Krampus has now turned them into these immortal beings that have to obey his every command. So they're kind of his slaves. Some of them got turned willingly, some of them not so willingly, but I am just loving their whole like familial dynamic. I will say I'm not like a huge fan of how the Indians are being portrayed in this. There was a little bit of that in Slewfoot as well, but it is a little bit more prevalent in this story, I feel. They are kind of portrayed as these like savages. They are uncivilized. They don't speak English. They are very quick to violence. And granted, that may be because they're like over 500 years old, so their characteristics may be more due to the fact of their age versus their race, but it is just, I don't know, a little icky to see this common theme that Brahm portrays his Indians as. Aside from that, though, the action is so good, and Krampus's like absolute savagery is so much fun. It's such a weird feeling, like not really knowing who you want to root for, because Krampus and Santa Claus are both like such morally gray characters, and like Santa is portrayed to be the villain in this plot, but that is only because we are following from Krampus's perspective. Granted, they've both done wrong. Like I said, they are both very morally gray, but Santa Claus in this world is kind of like the Santa Claus that we know. You know, he is very charitable, he is jolly, he's very caring, but he has also done some very morally questionable things, both in his like past life and who he is as Santa Claus now. And then there's Krampus, you know, like all gods, he wants to be worshipped. He wants to be given these tributes and just praised upon. And he is, I mean, kind of evil, but I mean, he's a god, so that tracks. And he really just wants to go back to the way things were before Santa Claus came around. You know, he wants to be the master of the season. He wants to be the Lord of Yule again. He wants to be the one that everyone is looking up to at this time of year instead of Santa Claus. And I mean, he definitely does lean more towards like the evil side of the spectrum versus Santa Claus. I mean, he absolutely revels in the violence and the bloodshed. I mean, more so to the people that he deems deserves it, but he also does care in his like own way for the people that he does see fit to care about. And there is a really nice scene where he is going out of his way to help these animals. So I mean, he's not all bad, and you honestly just can't help but root for this guy and to let him get his just revenge on Santa Claus for what he has done to him and for what he has put him through. I don't know if you can hear it, but I apologize if you can hear the small one playing with her toy. Also, don't mind my bag of presents that I still have not wrapped. But part 2 ended in an absolute bloodbath, and I loved the resolutions of both of the battles that we got to see. Although one of the battles did have a little bit of an intense torture scene. I mean, not that I minded at all, but just be aware of that if you are thinking of picking this up. But these battles were just so tense, and like that torture scene was so heart-wrenching, but I absolutely loved it. Like, I thought they were so well done. The banter between Krampus and the people that he was fighting in these battles was just so humorous, but the action and the suspense had me like on the edge of my seat. The last like 3 chapters of this part was just so well done, so fun, fantastic. Oh, another thing I did want to mention though, there are some like homophobic and racial slurs present in this. And I mean, I want to say that, I mean, that's pretty typical of a small town in West Virginia, but I'm from a small town in West Virginia, and I in no way would ever. So I can't even blame that. Like, I feel like that's what Braum is thinking. Like, he's talking about a hick town in West Virginia, but I just wanted to throw it out there that there are some slurs, but don't worry. Those people get what's coming to them. I am just loving this action. I'm really enjoying where the story's going. I really love Krampus's whole like vibe and demeanor, especially mixed with like Jesse's sarcasm and like dry humor. It's just been such a great mix of this humor mixed with this like serious tenseness, and it's got me. It's gripped me. It's gagged me. I love it. Now let's just hope that the final part can keep up this momentum and that we finish strong. Hello, friends. I have finished Krampus and I really enjoyed this one. The ending was very unexpected, but so beautiful. I just loved how everything was resolved and wrapped up. We definitely did get some of those answers that I was looking for in the beginning of the story, especially surrounding Santa Claus and Krampus's like backstory and what went on between them. I honestly just found this whole story so interesting. I loved the mythology and the folklore behind it. I loved all of the history. I adored all of the characters, especially Krampus. I mean, he definitely had his flaws. It is so easy to view him as this just evil, horrid creature. But Brahm did such a good job at giving him, and Santa really, so much personality and depth. I loved that they were both such morally gray characters and you never really knew like which side you wanted to root for. It really went back and forth throughout the story. I also just really enjoyed the back and forth between Santa and Krampus. Like their such differing beliefs was really interesting to read about. Like there was the obvious Christianity themes and beliefs from Santa Claus, and then Krampus had these like old world Wiccan pagan beliefs, and like their arguments back and forth were just so interesting to see both sides of. I also loved the spotlight that Brahm really shone on how humanity and humankind is really just the root of all evil. Krampus and his little gang of cohorts find themselves in a church, and Krampus is talking to the reverend. And he says, "Do you ever wonder why you seek the devil with such vigor? I shall tell you, because you cannot face your own wickedness. The truth is, there is no devil making you torture, rape, murder, and sodomize one another, or making you destroy the very land that feeds you. There is only you. So look at yourself, for you are the only devil in this room." And that just hit so hard. Like, because he was saying, like, he wanted Krampus to get out of his church because he is constantly being called the devil throughout the entire story. And Krampus is just throwing it back. And this was really a theme throughout the entire story. Like, Krampus was always being called a devil. And he was like, no, like, y'all need to go look in the mirror. Like, you are the real evil here, not me. And even though Krampus, like I've said before, does lean evil on the spectrum, like he is so baffled at how monstrous and how humans can really commit such atrocities towards each other and really towards Mother Earth. Like there was another quote that I really liked. He says, "So I must ask myself, what role can I play in a world where men worship the moving picture box, where they make and consume potions that eat away their own brains, where they ravage and pillage entire mountains, kill the very earth itself? Mankind has lost its connection to the land, to the earth, to the beasts and spirits. They gather their food not from the forests and fields, but from plastic bins and ice boxes. Their lives are no longer tied to the cycles of the seasons and the harvest. No longer do they need the Yule Lord to chase away the winter darkness and usher in the light of spring. Man has only himself to fear now. He has become his own worst devil." There were so many of these metaphors and quotes and themes throughout that really harked back to respecting Mother Earth and the old ways, and it just really hit home for me. This kind of felt like a sort of Christmas carol, like a different kind of Christmas carol. It is meant to make you question your views and your choices, but instead of centering around power and greed, it is centered around destroying the earth and humanity's horrors and just destroying each other. And I would also like to rectify a little bit about what I said earlier about the Indians. Throughout the story, we did get a little bit more, especially in part 3. The Indians were kind of sweet, and apparently they did speak a little bit of English. They just were very quiet. So I did want to like backpedal a little bit about what I said earlier about Brahm's views on the Indians. I also really enjoyed the afterword that we got from Brahm. He really goes into how much research he did on Krampus and Santa Claus's histories and all of the mythology and folklore surrounding them. You can really tell throughout the entire story how much effort and time and care and love went into this story surrounding this mythology and history with Krampus and Santa Claus. And I honestly loved learning more about Krampus especially because, like I mentioned, I have always had such a curiosity around Krampus, but even Santa Claus, like the lore and the mythos surrounding these huge pop culture icons was really interesting and I really enjoyed it. And even though this is marketed as a horror, I feel even though horror elements were definitely present at points, I feel like this is more of a like dark gothic fantasy more than a horror. But regardless of genre, I had such a great time with this story. It was humorous, it was fun, it was tense, it was like I said, there were definitely some horror elements mixed in, but it was so gothic and fantastical. And I just had a great time. I'm going to give this 4 stars. I highly recommend this, especially if you're looking for something a little festive, but not traditional in any sense. I mean, it was quite a slow start, and there definitely were some sluggish chapters, but after we got past part 1, like it just continually climbed from there. It really grew on me and it gripped me. So what a great way to start the horror Christmas vlog. I am going to be starting Eric LaRocca's story next. I am tentatively excited. Also, don't know if you noticed, but I finally got my presents wrapped. It took so much longer than I thought it would. I'm like, oh, I can knock this out in like 30 minutes, right? Even with Sydney's help, it took us like an hour. But it is done, so it is always nice to be able to check another to-do off of the list. We are also going to Lake Eola tonight. I'm so excited. This is a park that is in downtown Orlando, and they have this humongous tree that they have nightly lightings of, and then you can walk around the lake, and they have lights set up all around the walking path. We did it last year, and it was so pretty and it's so much fun. They also have a little farmers market called the Merry Market that we always check out. So that is the plans for tonight. I'm so excited. So I'm going to go get ready and we're going to head to the Merry Market and see some lights. Hello friends, I have started We Are Always Tender with Our Dead by Eric LaRocca. I'm about 50% of the way through the audiobook and it has been a strange journey, to say the least. Eric LaRocca's imagination and just creativity never cease to amaze me and disgust me and baffle me a lot of the time, honestly. This small town called Burnt Sparrow in New Hampshire is an absolute hotbed for unexplained phenomenon and just tragedy. Most recently, a family of these strange beings like comes into town and commits a horrible atrocity at the Christmas Day parade, leaving the streets littered with dead. We're mainly following a young man named Rupert. He's 17. We are in his head and we are kind of following through his eyes the aftermath of this tragedy. We're seeing how this cult-like town is, one, grieving and honoring the dead in their very peculiar and strange way, and two, seeking justice for this mass murder that has went on in their town. This place really seems to kind of just exist in its own little bubble. I mean, that has to be the case when these people are doing what they are doing and pretty much just like running their own sovereign country in the middle of nowhere, New Hampshire. The story takes place in 2003 leading into 2004, but I have to actively keep reminding myself of that. This reads so much older to me for some reason. I think because this town just feels so lawless and depraved, like so many of the historical horrors that I've read in the past, that it is really reading so much older than it actually is. It doesn't help that this town is like run by these like elders and there doesn't seem to be any like government. So it's reading very medieval, which I am enjoying, but it's so weird to think that this is happening in a time where I was alive. Aside from the numerous, ordinary, but yet so disgusting, horrendous acts that these humans are committing against each other, let me list a few for you here. We have murder, we have human sacrifice, we have necrophilia. I think that's where they have sex with dead people. If not, it's that. We have rape, we have torture. So on top of all of this atrocity, there is also just some wild things happening. There are some really like horrific, fantastical elements that are just so out there. Like some of the things that I am reading have my jaw like slack. Like, what am I reading? Like, what is actually going on? What is happening? Like, what the actual hell? I don't even know how a person thinks about these things. Like, how does he come up with this stuff? It is baffling to me, but that is really a common theme with Eric LaRocca's work. Like I said, like his imagination is unmatched. It is crazy. Whether you love it or you hate it, like you are never gonna read something like what he is putting out there, which in equal measures entertains me, but also like confounds me and confuses me. I am, like I always do his work, really enjoying his writing. It's a bit flowery, a touch matter of fact, and although I'm still not sure how I 100% feel about this aspect, it is also so erotic. There are so many sexual themes throughout really all of his books, and this is no exception. And I'm just not sure the purpose that it's supposed to serve in the story. Like, I assume it's supposed to like deepen the character, but some of it, especially the parts that don't seem to have anything to do with like the overarching plot of the story, just seems a bit unnecessary sometimes. I don't know. It just strikes me a little bit salacious for a horror, but that is also just kind of Eric LaRocca's style. There was a short story in one of his collections, and I don't know why it stuck with me so much, but there was a man who got off on sticking glass under his skin. So, I mean, he has always mixed this eroticism with his horror, but I don't know, it's just a bit much sometimes. I have absolutely no clue where this story is going. I am just along for the kooky ride, honestly. I am liking it so far. I'm really intrigued to find out more about this town, about their like wicked but also paranormal history and this like cult-like leadership. It is a pretty short book, so I will definitely be able to finish this up tomorrow. So I will be back with my final thoughts. I'm sure it will get no less strange, and I'm here for it. Well, I finished We Are Always Tender with Our Dead by Eric LaRocca. We can add incest and grooming to the list of disgusting things that happened in this book. It also wasn't very Christmassy. The only Christmas thing about it was that the massacre took place on Christmas, and we didn't even get to really see that. We just got the aftermath of it. So, not quite the festive, horrific jaunt I was looking for, but it was decent. Although the second half made very little sense to me. There were also just so many different things happening and so many different stories being told throughout this book that had nothing to do with the actual plot of the story. We were given snippets of these different stories through diary entries, through dreams, news articles, and I mean even someone just telling a verbal story. And even though they are all connected by taking place in this town and being told by the people from this town, these stories had nothing to do with each other. They felt very unconnected. They really had nothing to do with what was happening in town, and it just felt very incohesive. I think Eric LaRocca's love of short stories really bled into this with him doing a full-length novel, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, except when you're trying to write a cohesive novel. I do like his short stories a lot of the time, but having it be in this format, it just felt very disjointed. And the ending, the second half really, but the ending was so weird. I don't know if some of the strange fantastical things that were happening were supposed to be metaphors, but if so, I'm not getting it. They are going over my head. I also felt like the ending was just unsatisfying. I do know that this is the first in a series, but I don't think that the follow-up books are going to be told from the same perspectives. And I feel like these characters got no resolution. Nothing was rectified or wrapped up. I didn't feel like there was any resolution to anything. I feel like if we wouldn't have gone through these different lenses, these different stories, and I feel like if he maybe would have had a little bit more of a clear vision of this one singular story, that I would have liked it a lot more. And I spoke on it in a previous update, but I just cannot get over how erotic this book was for no reason. I mean, it is a common theme in his book, so I was kind of expecting it, but I just feel like it was very prevalent in this book for no reason. And in some of his other works, I feel like that erotic undertone kind of adds to the story, but in this one, I feel like the salacious lustiness did nothing to add to the story. I mean, some of it made sense surrounding our teenage boy that we were following, but I don't know, it just felt like a lot. All that to say, I am going to give it 3 stars. It is probably a lower 3-star, but I don't think it is quite a 2.5, so I'm going to land on a 3. I really did enjoy the first half of this. It was unique. It was grotesque and so strange, but cohesive. It made sense. The second half just really went off the rails for me. It's sad to say that I'm thinking that maybe it might be time to say goodbye to Eric LaRocca. I've read a lot of his work, and a lot of the ones that I have read recently, with the exception of In the Dark, I Become Lonesome. I think that was the release right before this one. I really did enjoy that one. But aside from that, and aside from the very first one that I picked up, which was Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, both of those are definitely my favorites that I've read from him. But all the other ones that I've read, and I've read quite a few from him, have just been very middle of the road. I keep picking up his books because they are so unique and they always evoke feeling. And his writing is honestly really beautiful, if not a bit repetitive at times. He does this thing where he will find a word or a short phrase that he really likes, and he will just repeat it throughout the entire either short story or the book, whatever work that he is in. He will find this little short word or phrase and just pepper it throughout his story. Sometimes this is done really well, and I do like it. I feel like it gives it a kind of like rhythm, a kind of melody, but other times it can be a bit grating. But overall, I'm just not sure that the highs outweigh the lows at this point, when I keep finding his works so mid, with the exception of those like two outliers. But if I give up now, I may also miss another really great one that I really enjoy. And I mean, he is just so unique, and I'm always curious to see like what he's gonna do. I guess whether I like it or not, I'm still curious. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I'm honestly not sure I'm going to continue in this series. I'll see what the next synopsis sounds like and see how I feel about it. But this one, again, just very middle of the road for me, unfortunately. I did manage to get through 5 short stories of Christmas and Other Horrors. I'm really liking this collection so far. Some of them that I've read haven't really been like Christmassy or holiday-y. They're more so just like wintry, but I guess it is a winter solstice anthology, not necessarily a festive holiday anthology. But with a name like Christmas and Other Horrors, I was expecting all of them to be a little bit festive, but honestly, even the ones that aren't very festive, I've really enjoyed. I read the one from Benjamin Percy just because it was one of the first ones and it was really short. I gave this 3 stars. A family's son disappears on Christmas, and the Christmas after, he shows back up, beaten, bloodied. Apparently, Santa steals children and makes them his worker elves. Again, this one was very short. It was decent. I also read the one from Almakatsu. I've never read from them either, Benjamin Percy either. I liked this one a bit more. I think they're a brother and sister. They rent this Airbnb. There's this tradition in Wales where these revelers will go door to door, but when the revelers show up at this particular door and try to rob the tourists, these brother and sister, I think, they get quite the surprise. I like this one. It was 3.5 stars. I also read my first work from Tananarive Due. I really want to read The Reformatory, I think is what it's called, from her. So I was very interested to see kind of what her writing style was like, and I really liked her story. I rated it a 4-star. There was generational trauma, an abusive grandmother, cancer, demons. It wasn't really festive. This was one that took place, they mentioned Kwanzaa and Christmas, but it wasn't really part of the story. But I really enjoyed her writing. So, I mean, that really makes me just want to pick up The Reformatory even more. Next, I read the one from Josh Mallerman. That one I rated a 3.5 star. It was interesting. It was decent. This man goes to Finland with his girlfriend to meet her family for the first time, and her father takes him into this like sweat lodge, and they just like trip balls together. There wasn't really anything like, it was a little horror, but I don't know. This one felt a little bit more like literary, a little creepy, I guess, but 3.5 stars. And then lastly, I read Cassandra Call's short story. I have read and loved Cassandra Call in the past. Nothing but Blackened Teeth. We're not going to talk about that one. Was not good, but her short story did it for me again. It was 4.5 stars. Really enjoyed. The world has ended. It was a cold apocalypse, and we had ancient spirits. We had this woman who really fell in love with this ancient deity, and she was debating whether the world was even worth saving. If she had the power to save it, you know, was it worth it with all of the terrible, despicable things that humans do to each other? It was really, really good. Really enjoyed. I would like to read some more short stories in this, but unfortunately, I think that is going to be all the time that I have with you this week. If I want to get this out before Christmas, I got to get on it and wrap this baby up. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to let me know that you were here, leave me the snowflake emoji for Cold by Cassandra Call. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more from me in the future. I hope you have had and are going to have an incredible holiday season. What are you doing? rubbing your head on my book. That's pretty typical. Yep. Yep. That tracks. Anyway, I hope you are loving what you were reading lately. Stay safe out there. Be kind to one another. And I will see you very soon for another video. Bye, friends.